So I'm Catherine Jones. I lead the Energy Data Centre in STFC, in a different bit to Elizabeth. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about a workshop we ran last autumn, specifically for energy modellers and what their data sharing issues were. So I've got to give you quite a bit of background before I get to the answers. So the Energy Data Centre is part of the UK Energy Research Centre, which is a large interdisciplinary research centre with many universities, has been running 20 years, and its remit is to do independent whole systems research for a sustainable energy future. And within the Energy Data Centre, we have an expert team, a discovery portal, and do research data curation. And we're also responsible for data management planning for UKERC researchers. And energy modelling is a key to UKERC outputs. They're very into energy modelling. At the same time, last autumn rather, we were involved in a DSIT-funded research data cloud project called Data Infrastructure for National Infrastructures, which looked at barriers for researchers sharing data in energy, water and transport. And as part of that, they did a landscape review, we did case studies, we did workshops, which is what I'm about to tell you about, and we did some technical exploration. So what's special about energy data? Everyone thinks things are special, don't they? The thing about energy is it's one single word, but the domains go all the way from psychology to heavy engineering. But they'd all call themselves energy researchers. So that's very multidisciplinary, and there are different expectations and practices. The other thing that surprised me when I moved into this is there are lots of really big consortia that like the UKERC or EDRC or Supergen. So that's quite an interesting difference. They're a really big user of commercial real-world data. If you're doing anything to do with modelling energy distribution in the UK, you have to use commercial data. And then there are some domain challenges. They're really into elite interviews. There is only one head of Ofgem. They're into modelling, and they're also into Jupyter notebooks. So energy modelling is really important, and it's because it impacts on real-life decisions. It's used by academics, it's used by government, it's used by industry. Some models are used by government and academics. And there are lots of different scales of model and resourcing. So there's some really big ones with big teams, and then there's a PhD student knocking something up. And as part of our workshop, which was have a look at the sharing pinch points and successes, we did some framing, which is what the diagram is, to help people think about it. So, as a result of this workshop, where we asked these energy modellers what they thought the problems were, we then grouped them by FAIR, and then, of course, because it's a workshop, people tell you stuff you weren't expecting. There's also models. And I just want to pick out a few key points. So the first one about findable was they were really interested in how data about emerging technologies and costing models become findable. So if something new's happened, how do they find it? There's lots of tensions between export controls, protecting IP, protecting critical infrastructure. The model that the government run is different to the academic model because there are some things on the electricity network that are secret, which I found really fascinating, which is why I'm telling you about it, versus fair and open data. So there are lots of tensions here. In interoperable, I found this really fascinating. Someone said, people collect and think about data in different ways, so the same kind of data may be recorded differently, which I thought was a really interesting point when you're working in multidisciplinary environments. There was lots and lots of stuff about inadequate documentation and metadata and a lack of common terminology. I've worked in open access a long time. It's always someone else's problem, is my view on that. But one of the challenges of energy is that there is no common ontology because that is my time. And then the last point I really wanted to make is that you need effort to run and participate in a community, and that isn't always recognised as, we've all come here today, haven't we, to participate in a community where not doing the day job. And then finally, I won't speak to this, but every good workshop has some recommendations. We make some recommendations about infrastructure, guidance and support, and some stuff that the community ought to do themselves. In the slides, there are links to all the outputs if you want to follow it further.